This morning, we continue our hearing on the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to serve as Associate Justice on our Supreme Court. We will hear from two witnesses, Dr. Blasey Ford and Judge Kavanaugh.
I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me. He began running his hands over my body and grinding into me. I yelled, hoping that someone downstairs might hear me, and I tried to get away from him, but his weight was heavy. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes. He had a hard time because he was very inebriated, and because I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit underneath my clothing. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life. It was hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me. Both Brett and Mark were drunkenly laughing during the attack. They seemed to be having a very good time.
My family and my name have been totally and permanently destroyed by vicious and false additional accusations. And listen to the witnesses who allegedly were at this event 36 years ago. Listen to Miss Kaiser. She does not know me. I was not at the party described by Dr. Ford. This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. The Constitution gives the Senate an important role in the confirmation process, but you have replaced advice and consent with search and destroy.
Judge, I can't think of a more embarrassing scandal for the United States Senate since the McCarthy hearings, when the comment was about the cruelty of the process toward the people involved. And the question was asked, have you no sense of decency? And I'm afraid we've lost that, at least for the time being. Do you understand you've been accused of multiple crimes?
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? Hello, everyone. Welcome to NeoUnrealist. The Senate Judiciary Committee met yesterday, September 27th, 2018, a date which will live in infamy. The hearing into the sexual assault accusation by Dr. Blasey Ford against Supreme Court Justice nominee Brett Kavanaugh turned into high drama and blood sport at times. Emotions were flying around that hearing room as the day started out tense, with Blasey Ford as the first witness. Her opening statement and the round of questioning for her, they all got 5 minutes each, one round for both Republicans and Democrats. And while her testimony was short on verifiable facts, you know, the Democrats, they went for full emotional impact. And I have to concede that on that level, Christine Blasey Ford, she nailed it. She made for a very credible witness, as all the mainstream media annoyingly kept repeating yesterday. And I think that, you know, that given that, though, people put way too much weight into the credibility of witnesses. Because if you follow trials, both sides, especially in high-profile cases, they tend to put on convincing witnesses. And more often than not, in my experience, the accuser and the accused in these things, you know, both sides, whether it's a rape case, a murder trial, whatever, you'll often come away after seeing both sides speaking and you'll just think, just in terms of credibility, that they're both convincing. I mean, every accuser seems sure that the person that they finger for the crime is guilty, and every accused will usually insist with equal fervor and passion that they're not guilty. So the only problem with Dr. Ford's testimony yesterday, you know, at the end of the day, was that you know, the few pieces of evidence that we have just don't line up with or support her story. She provided no new information to counter the fact that apart from Kavanaugh himself, who you would expect would contest her version of events and deny he did it, all three of the other people that she named as having been at the party, including her own lifelong friend, Leland Kaiser, say they have no memory of ever having attended such a party. So the party even happening is being disputed. So more importantly, her friend Kaiser said she doesn't know Brett Kavanaugh and has never attended any party with him and Ford. The witnesses she named didn't just not corroborate her story, they refute her story. But that didn't matter yesterday. I mean, the Democrats, they went full emotion over facts, and for what it's worth, she did that job well. And by the time she was done, Brett Kavanaugh had to come from behind a long way to salvage the day. Now, the Republican senators, they played possum all morning, letting a female prosecutor from Maricopa County handle all the questions on their behalf. And it looked stupid, and with the 5-minute alternating rule, it was kind of dumb. She couldn't ever really get a train of thought going. But I think their thinking was they just wanted nothing to do with this witness. They wanted to avoid any optics or sound bites of quote-unquote old white men badgering a vulnerable sex assault survivor. They just wanted to get her out of the hearing room. Thank you, Dr. Ford, for your testimony and coming out here. They just didn't want to open up any bleeding wounds on any of the so-called old white men. Then it was Kavanaugh's turn to testify. And I did think he read the moment perfectly. He knew he had the evidence on his side, but that a stoic, anodyne, and pure logical presentation just wasn't going to cut it. Knowing that as he knew beforehand, that Christine Blasey Ford's testimony was going to be, likely like a sledgehammer emotionally. So he tossed out his prepared statement that was released last night and rewrote it. And he went from the gut and he delivered an opening statement for the ages, full of righteous fury at Democrat senators and staff that these people made his life the last 2 weeks a living nightmare. He breathed fire like Godzilla burning down Tokyo. I've rarely seen a witness go directly at senators in a hearing like that. I mean, that shit just doesn't happen. I mean, you might have to go back to Justice Clarence Thomas's own confirmation hearing when he gave his high-tech lynching speech in regard to the Anita Hill accusations against him for sexual harassment. I think Kavanaugh's opener, it set the Democrats back on their heels because the first couple of questioners for their side, Feinstein and Leahy, their heart looked like it just wasn't in it. They mailed it in. It was paint by numbers. They're 5 minutes each. Kavanaugh vacillated between righteous anger and tearing up. Even when the next few Democrat questioners seemed to recover enough to try pressing him hard, it just never rose to the level where they could score any points on him. In fact, he dialed back the emotion after all. I think it was like the Amy Klobuchar questioning was the turning point in that, when he actually apologized to her for going back at her with a question, and that seemed to disarm her a little bit. She seemed a little bit surprised. And it looked like that from that point on, he was just playing out the clock. He started filibustering a few times, just knowing that 5 minutes, it's not a lot of time for somebody to develop a sustained attack on you, especially if you're going to be deliberately long-winded in your answers, as he seemed to be. almost every Democrat, it seemed to be their goal was to try to get him to call for another FBI background investigation, stall for some more time, have another investigation into himself, and on that he seemed a little evasive and unsteady, just because it's hard to duck the same question over and over and over and over. It looked like he, whatever talking point he had, he just, ran out of ways to say it. He was also too defensive and I think made too big a deal out of his beer drinking. He almost overplayed it and let the Democrats paint him almost as some kind of alcoholic, prone to blackout drunkenness. But through all that, one Republican senator stood out from all the rest, though, and has to be discussed. You saw him. Lindsey Graham. Someone needs to tell Tears of Rage Cory Booker over there that's what a real Spartacus moment looks like. Lindsey Gramnesty Graham, the Rhino, John McCain's sidekick, the Squish, reached down and found his balls, or they dropped, swole up, something happened. Dude dropped an atom bomb on the hearing room, blew the Dems the hell out. I mean, like I said on Twitter last night, at that point, he should have just thrown down the microphone in disdain, lifted his hands in the air and said, "Are you not entertained?" Political blood was all over the floor in that little hearing room. Alyssa Milano, who was sitting in the audience, at that point she probably crapped herself in her seat when Graham went off. Anyway, it looks like the long and short of all this is that Kavanaugh did enough to win the day, and they announced sometime last night that they're calling the vote for this morning. And by the time you see this, the vote should be taking place or have taken place already, unless there's a last-minute hiccup. The American Bar Association came out late last night and called for a halt to the hearings for another FBI investigation. We'll see if the Republicans just do what they should and ignore this latest stunt and hold the vote, or if Grassley caves and fumbles. But barring something like that, Kavanaugh's chances look good going forward. That's all for this NeoUnrealist. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, mash down on that notification button to keep up with the new content, and set it to the all setting. People are telling me that YouTube is playing games again with the subscription dropping and the notifications not going out. But if you want to support the channel monetarily, follow the links below to Patreon or PayPal, or use the tip pledge button if you're watching this on BitChute. Most important though, hell, if you're at the end of this video and you're still hearing this, thanks for watching.